Every year, the President of the United States gives a proclamation to share in recognition of women history. Women history continues to be a beacon, a backbone to our United States. This month, we celebrate Women History Month. And today on Power Conversations, we have great guests from different backgrounds who's going to share how their involvement with community, how their involvement as a woman continues to move society forward. Get ready, Power Conversations is happening next. This first segment, we're going to be talking politics and business with the Honorable Nora Ellen. So, former Vice Mayor Nora Ellen, it's so good to have you here. I'm going to just kind of reintroduce yourself to the audience. We know that you served on council, but just kind of let the audience know who you are once again.
Right. I had the benefit of serving on council. I got elected in 2012 and then reelected in 2016. Absolutely loved it. Part of the time I was the only woman on council, and it was a great time. I felt so honored to be elected and then reelected. We have an amazing city. It's always getting better. I am an entrepreneur myself. Like you said, I own my own real estate company. I've also authored a book, and I have a podcast, and I am a coach to help women go from being broke to hope to financial success, because that's my story.
So tell me, how has it been now serving the community in a different role, more as a community advocate, a community leader? Where do you see yourself in this moment in history?
That's a great question. You know, it's interesting. Even though I've been off council since 2018, I still have people come to me for help because of my council position, which really is kind of it's a surprise to me. But the way I see myself now is helping women. It's different for women financially than it is for men. Still, because we're often mothers and we have children, it's a different journey when it comes to work or being an entrepreneur and that kind of thing. So I was a stay-at-home mom, and I really love that. And right now, I love what I'm doing. My podcast is amazing. I never dreamed that women would listen from all over the world and how many downloads I would have. Yeah, Saudi Arabia listening to my podcast. And
Come on through here.
My podcast, I have guests on there of women who were broke, and then now they're financially successful. And it's a diverse industries and ethnicity and all of that. It's just, there's a lot of great women out there, and there's opportunity.
Yeah, and you mentioned the pay equity gap, and I know that that's a thing. And as we celebrate Women History Month this month, the pay gap continues to be a challenge.
I do have a chapter on that in my book, and I tell women, you're the CEO of your life. And actually, I'm not a college graduate, surprising, but I've done really well financially. So I tell women, you don't have to have a college degree to do well financially. It's just, right, we're programmed like that. You got to go to college, you got to have a degree. And there is so much opportunity to take a product and improve it, or start a new product or a service and tweak it a little bit. And the sad thing for women, oftentimes we feel like we're not worth it. We're afraid to ask. We don't know how to ask for that promotion. We don't know how to, they don't teach in school. It's something that should be taught in school, in my opinion, right?
Soft skill.
How to get a job interview, how to do a resume, and things like that, or how to start a business, and how do you write a business plan. But that's the thing I help women. You would be surprised. So I'm in a group with, we call it 6-figure women because of our income. You think we're always feeling confident and we're always fearless? No, we're not. Sometimes we're scared, and we just do it you just go for it anyway. Sometimes I think, just don't think about the fear, just go for it anyway.
You know, we say fear is false evidence appearing real.
Exactly.
How do a woman who struggles with fear, struggle with not being a good enough, with your model, your book that you've written, your podcast that you talk about, where you're trying to help bring healthy support to a woman, how do she then say, I'm not going to walk in fear, I'm going to walk in power, I'm going to walk in strength?
Right.
How does she do that?
Think exactly what you said. It starts with the mindset. God has given us this incredible mind to think wonderful things. And I do believe he has a plan, and it's good. And to know we're loved. I believe people are loved by God. We're loved by each other. And we are important. We're special. We have a purpose and destiny. And focus on that. Okay, there's the fear. Yeah, I feel that. But yet, and that's why I have my podcast. Okay, all these women, if they can do it, I can do it too. And because we get too focused on the fear. I got to get over the fear. No, don't focus there. What's your dream? What's your goal? And plan it out. Journal it. Talk it out. I have a recorder. I talk to myself. So, but in my book, I talk about our money thermostat, which is, because I didn't know I had a ceiling. I subconsciously only allowed myself to make so much money because of the whole worth thing or whatever my self-limiting beliefs were. And I had to work through that. So there's a lot of resources, a lot of tools. There's so many books, our library's full of books, and that's some ways that you get over your money limiting beliefs so you can make more money. We need to talk about money more in our society. I think we have money shaming. We condemn the rich and we think they're all corrupt, and that's not true. So just kind of got to explore that.
Yeah, and before, this is my last question. Can you talk a little bit about how do women overcome limiting themselves, limiting behaviors? Because, sometimes, like, I have sisters, I have mom, like one of my sisters said to me, she said, I cannot go back to school, I'm too old. I'm like, sis, you're like 43 years old, like 42, like,
She's
come on.
just a pup.
You're just a pup, baby, you heard it, you're just a pup. Come on. But it's the belief, because she's a single mom.
Right. Yeah.
She has children. She's trying, she doesn't, she says to me, if I do this, then this is going to take away from my household. And so I need to kind of stay here. But that limits her from really becoming who she could become if she would be willing to step out on faith and do it.
That's kind of true. And it goes back to get some good affirmations that you tell yourself.
Affirmations. You heard her. Affirmations. Affirmation. Give us some affirmations.
Yeah. Well, I'm special. I'm powerful and courageous. I deserve to make more money. I deserve to have a goal. I can reach my goals. I can break it down into monthly, daily, and I can find women that have done that, and I can talk to them. I can listen to them. I can read their books. There's so much resources and opportunity, but a lot of it is conditioning, whatever she has conditioned herself. You have to kind of go back into your childhood. Where did I get conditioned that I think the way I think that's holding me back?
Oh, that's good. So before you go, tell us the name of your book, where we can find that, and then also tell us the name of your podcast so we can find that as well.
Okay, thank you. The book is called Women Starting Over and Moving Up, Building Financial Success on Your Own Terms. That's the same with my podcast, the same name, and you can go to womenmovingup.com. You can order a book there that I will autograph it and send you an autographed copy.
All right, I'm going to order my book today, and then I'm going to get in contact with you so I get an autograph.
All right, sounds great.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for sharing your story. We so appreciate you being here. We have another special guest that's coming up, so stay tuned.
Practice being grateful. Even there's times if I lost a real estate deal, I just thought, okay, I'm just going to find something to be thankful for, because this is just one. Tomorrow is a new day. In fact, the next hour is new. This goes back to your mind being your best asset in this journey of new beginnings that you're on. We have our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. We're learning more and more about the differences. Our conscious mind tends to be the part that wants to keep us safe, don't take any risks, but it also holds knowledge and education. Then there's our subconscious mind. That's the programming that's kind of, as we say, in the back of our mind that can be running. Like I said, giving you that money thermostat that can hold you back or move you forward.
Welcome back. We're going to be discussing faith in business with the Honorable Cynthia Hardy and the Honorable Jody Peterson. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming. So we're going to get right into the nitty gritty. You guys ready?
Ready.
All right. So why don't you start out with your story. How did you get from where you are to now being a leading woman and a director of missions at Cornerstone Church?
Yeah, so I grew up in a family that was super involved in church and involved in serving, and it was just like, it's just who we were and what we did. I was raised in a family that it was all about relationships, and so people mattered a lot. And I'd say I really got involved in serving when I was in high school. I went on a serve trip to Dominica, which is a small island in the Caribbean. Packed my 40-pound box, got on the plane, and spent 6 weeks with people. Really got my eyes open to what does it look like living cross-culturally? How do people live similar to us and differently? And just opened my eyes to that. And it just created that passion. And then I was a teacher for a couple of years here in Chandler at Knox Elementary and just loved getting to know the students in my class, and then transitioned to working full-time at the church after serving at a children's home in Kenya. Our lead pastor said, "Hey, would you consider joining?" And I'm like, sure. So it's been an adventure, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, that's amazing. How about you?
Well, my journey started in the Bahamas. My family married into two different Bahamian families. And as we're considered royal subjects, I got to be a representative for the Ministry of Tourism for a day and get to greet people and then march your dimes. So my serving came formal, in a formal sense. It was through my parochial school and my church involvement. My family was not that into church or serving when we're here in America, because they were into the grind or just working and staying alive. And when things went crazy here with Martin Luther King assassination, all of that, they moved. And so I'm grateful for the experience I had being a student in the Bahamas and having the Prime Minister being a keynote speaker in my high school, and just being a welcoming force, and to have that belonging and understanding that people, wherever you are, like you said, we have a lot of things in common.
Can you share some of your challenges that you may have experienced being a woman of faith and moving forward and bringing service to the kingdom?
Oh, you want to- Wow. My personality throws people off because I'm not a soft-spoken lady. When I get excited, I'm excited. And I get joy when I serve the Lord. And yes, the challenge is to think out of the teacher mode that women can only be teachers or secretaries or lead ladies programs. I've been blessed to be in a men's role for several years as a young person doing things for outreach. I didn't know how impactful that was until another lady, a senior lady, said, "It took me to be 40 years old to get to do what you're doing." And so I don't take my opportunities lightly, but I tell the young ladies, keep trying, because I grew up in the 70s. So to see Robin Roberts and all those ladies that we were about the same age, I'm like, darn, I should just kept in there, right? I gave up too soon with golf. I had my own golf teacher. He wanted me to move, when I moved back to America, to go to school and beat Nancy Lopez. Well, when I got here, the air of a woman dare to come to a golf course and a black woman, I said, I can't take my grandmother through that. And so I wanted to be a photojournalist, and I wanted to do this and that. And I had opportunities back then. But what I did, I encouraged the young people that came behind me when Title IX came out. I said, bust it out, do it. The challenges are still there, let's be clear, but not as rigid as it was years ago. And as women of faith, when we have opportunities, to spread the opportunity, give someone else that door open experience, or that foot in the door experience, so they can come through and be encouraged. That's something I didn't feel. I didn't feel like I was being encouraged. People were shutting down my faith. They were just killing my spirit, and I didn't know how to work that out. Now we have, mental health advocates, and that's busting through. They're not silent behind in the dark. They're out there with the children and young adults and telling them, you have opportunity, you have the right to do what you want to do at church or in your business. But they have to be intentionally want to be that position. When you go in that position, you know, you have to be guarded up. You have to have that support. I didn't think I had it at the time, but I didn't pray enough.
That's good.
I think for me, when I started working at Cornerstone, I worked on our student ministry team, and I was the only female on the staff. And so that was very different moving from education, where it was a lot of female and then males. So it's just different interactions. I think I was in more of a support role initially. And then I think as they saw my skill set, and I really realized, like, I know that God has uniquely gifted me with a calling to be a leader, to be an influencer, and just use that. Like, if it's going to be in this role initially, I'm going to do this well. And then how do I move up and do it in a different type of role? And just continue to say, like, I'd like to do something like this. I told them for a couple of years, I'd love to move in to overseeing our serve department, to take people on cross-cultural experiences, to encounter Christ in a new way. Like, that's what excites me. That what wakes me up. Like, I can do this for a while, but at some point, this is going to not be fulfilling forever. And so I was just thankful that I was a part of a staff that heard my voice, and that other people, and especially like when you see as a woman in it, having men introduce you in a way that really gives credit for what you've done. I just even heard this weekend, as we had someone candidating for a position, one of our executives said, "This is Jody, and she oversees our serve department, and she mobilizes more people than anybody I've ever met in this role." And to me, I'm like, that they put words to it and they say it in front of people. To amplify other people's voice is so important, no matter what their role is, because some people have voices that aren't heard, and their voices need to be heard. And so I've noticed that I think sometimes our titles don't always, I think you have to earn it. It feels a little bit more like that. I've realized, like, I might say my title and they'll be like, and then you talk a little bit more and they're like, okay, based off what you've done, now we'll start leaning in a little bit forward. But just sometimes with other people, they may just see a title and it automatically gives them an authority or decision making. And then I've had to navigate it. What does it look like cross-culturally? Because I work in environments and cultures that women aren't in the role that I'm currently in. I serve on teams that women aren't in the role that they are. And I'm just like, but never forget what God has uniquely gifted us with. We all have callings in our life, and we got to live that out to the fullest.
Yeah, and you use your faith to kind of help you navigate, to stay focused, because it's so easy because of the fact that, you know, not everybody want to see you win, you know, and sometimes it's just challenging. Before we go, I'm going to ask you guys to leave the women, since it's Women History Month, leave them with a thought, leave them something. The last guest talked about, you know, the challenges that women have faced was sometimes it's a stifled mindset, it's a limiting mindset. So what is a thought that you would leave to a woman that could be experiencing something in their life? Maybe it come from a relative, from a personal experience, or something that you can encourage them with, to give them something that they can see, and then they can overcome a problem, then a solution that they can overcome and see themselves getting through it.
Yeah, I just think it's extremely important that we surround ourselves with people who tell us who we are and what we're becoming. So find that community. Listen to what people are saying, to hear how to then find your voice and amplify it. And then use that for other people who are somebody you can be the amplifier of their voice for, and look for those opportunities.
I love it.
I agree with that. And I have two things. Erica Alexander and her daughter wrote this book. She had this terrible, she thought this birthmark was so terrible. And she wrote a book about it. And so she's a voice of other kids that have birthmark or whatever they think that they're being made fun of. And I treasure this. And I have a lot of other stories like that. And then my Chandler to our Sister Cities people. I bring them up because they birth ideas, encourage ideas of students, all diverse students, to be a part of their author and artist group, and to be an exchange person, or just be a person of service. And if you make the programs intentionally purposeful, for women, be intentional. Do not try and copy someone else's position. I will never be Jody in her position. God has my position. Be happy in that position. And if you don't like something that God put in your way, pray about it, because he put that there for you to either go this way or that way. But always be inspiring and continue to push forward, pass it forward.
I love it. With that being said, thank you so much for sharing your stories and sharing with our audience, some of the many things, your experiences, life experiences with us today. I'm really honored that you guys decided to take a few minutes out your day to hang out with me. Um, is there a social media platform that people can reach out to you at, or is there something that you want to share with how people can contact you? Please, you could do it at this time.
Yeah, so if you're interested in finding an opportunity to serve, like serve out in the community, we do an event that happens a couple times a year called City Serve. And so it's coming up. We have one in March. We'll have another one in November. We have like almost 700 people partnering with 25 different organizations right here in our community. So people can meet people, meet needs, know one another, and share Jesus. If you're interested in looking to like, how do I get connected in a community, we just ask you email serve@cornerstoneaz.com.
All right.
And for me, my church is Congregational Church of the Valley here in Chandler. We have a Facebook page, and you can contact me through that Facebook page. And I'm also a commissioner with the City of Chandler, so you can reach out to staff, and they'll let you know how to get in contact with me personally. And like her, I'm all over the place. So one of the nonprofits and groups will know me as well, and I'm just happy to be a part of the community. And I'll probably come out and see what you're doing, because I like to pass on information to other people, because I'm in that position that I can help people.
Well, thank you both for serving, and thank you so much for bringing light and awareness and how we can do better as a community. Thank you all so much for watching. We have another episode. Actually, we have another segment coming up right after this.
Helping women discover their inner voice is powerful. When they find it, it changes everything. That's why Dress for Success Phoenix means so much to our local community. It's more than the clothing they provide or the professional career skills they teach. Dress for Success Phoenix is about helping women see that anything is possible, finding their spirit, and reclaiming their confidence. To donate or to volunteer, please visit phoenix.dressforsuccess.org for more information.
Welcome back. Today we have Tamala McBath here, the CEO of Dress for Success. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, well, you're looking dapper. You're looking good.
thank
You're looking
you.
ready. You
Thank
ready?
you.
Okay, you
Thank
Dress for
you.
Success.
Try to be when you have dress in your title. You have to sort of show up right.
So, Tamala, if you don't mind if I call you that, or
No,
would you prefer?
absolutely.
Okay, all right. So you have shaken the tree. You are the first Black woman to be the CEO of Dress for Success. Tell us about some of your challenges, and tell us about you and your journey to this role today.
Sure. It's definitely an honor to be here. So glad to be here in the Valley and serving the women here in Maricopa County. I feel my background has been varied. I have 30 plus years in healthcare operations and finance. So I've always been in leadership or working toward that, but in leadership, leading teams, leading other women, promoting other women, and wanting to see them achieve their success. So I just think it's been an honor to be able to do this as solely this for a living now is really a blessing. So I'm enjoying that.
So tell us about Dress for Success. What does that actually mean?
So Dress for Success Phoenix is actually a workforce development organization. Our mission is to empower women to achieve economic independence and to thrive in work and in life. And we do that through various ways of support and wraparound services that we offer the women we serve.
How do women continue to evolve and continue to have impact like you are having today?
I feel at this point, women need advocates. And those of us that are in positions to do that, we need to definitely leverage our influence, our privilege, whatever we have, whatever we can do. We need to use that to advocate for other women. And you touched on the wage disparity issue. And I'm very passionate about that because we've got to do things to move the needle. So if you look at the average pay for a week, average salary is about $12.77. That's average, which comes down to about $31, $32 an hour. The average for a woman is about $850.
Wow.
Which is about $10 less. And in addition to that, women, right here in our city, women make 80 cents on the dollar, 86 cents on the dollar for every man. Black women, about 64 cents on the dollar. Hispanic women, probably mid 50 cents, 55, 56 cents on the dollar. And we've got to move the needle on this disparity for wages because we're working just as hard. And if it's going to take me 20 months, 24 months to make the same as my counterparts, that's a problem.
It seems like there's a lot of catching up that needs to happen.
There's a lot of change that needs to happen from a policy perspective, because as long as we're okay with this in policy, then we'll continue to perform this way. So once we start to change things at the policy level, I think then hopefully we'll start to see things change for women and for to see the pay scale move in the right direction.
How do we as policymakers kind of bring in that inclusivity and making sure that, hey, we're going to pay her the same as we're paying him? How do we make policy? How do we champion that battle from a policy perspective?
Well, I think there's a few ways we can look at it. It's about performance, not pedigree, number one.
That's good.
And we need to look at the skills and the offerings. One of the things that we found, Councilman, when we launched our Educate Her program, where we provide scholarships for single moms here in the Valley. We pay their tuition, computer, wraparound services, stipend monthly, and childcare. So we feel there's so many barriers that are written into policy that if we can start to bring some of the barriers down and give women not just access, but once they get the access, we'll see a lot of access, but we need the password.
Yeah, and I think that I found that my mother, she's always been like, make sure you ask for everything you want, like this strong Black woman, always encouraging and always making sure that I'm achieving and reaching my goals. What woman inspires you to keep doing what you're doing?
Well, I've been very fortunate. So both my mother and my grandmother were just role models for me. My grandmother was a nurse. My mother was a nurse executive. And that's where I learned service. When I was a kid, I thought my middle name was Get Your Shoes because my grandmother was the community nurse, the community servant. And if somebody got sick, if they died, whatever, they would call my grandmother. And she would pick that green phone up and I could see her say, okay, all right, I'm on the way. And she'd say, Tamla, get your shoes. And that's what we did, and then we were off to go and serve in any way we could, whether it was baking a chicken or, just being there to pray, or just, my grandmother would say, sometimes you have to just be. There are no words in some situations to say. Just show up and be present. And I think I learned that so much from her. I learned from my mom what it means to be an executive and to have executive presence, and then how you use that to bring people along with you, that you don't leave anyone behind that wants to move forward. And that's been an inspiration to me.
Good. And so how does it feel to be the first Black woman? How does it feel to be, you're probably first in more than just that, but how does it feel when someone say, hey, you're the first person to do that? Is that something that you even pay attention to, or are you just focused on the work, or is it surreal? Like, how does it feel in the moment creating history right now in this month of March?
I think I have mixed feelings about it, Councilman, really, because I grew up in East Tennessee, 2% Black population. We were the first and the only, in a lot of situations. But I think now that we're still here saying the first, this is the first woman. And I think it's my responsibility to open the doors so that I'm not the last. So that there are so many other young women, so many other women and children that you want to impact now that are coming behind us. So I just want to open the door wide, make the way, as straight as it can be for others to come along.
Yeah, well, you're doing a wonderful job. I hear nothing but good things from Dress for Success.
Thank you.
You are really, Dress for Success has got a gem. Truly got a gem. And when you're not ready to be at Dress for Success, come on down to Chandler. We got a role for you here. But I really appreciate your time. But I want to ask you something. Can you give the women something that they can hold on to from a position of being the CEO of Dress for Success? They're showing up. They're ready to be empowered. They're taking on that interview. They're trying to figure out, what should I wear? How should I show up? What should be my posture? Or even those that are pivoting that are already in their role and saying it's time for me to get that raise. How should I posture that? So I know those are two different questions, but can you kind of address both of those questions and say, how do women show up when they're getting ready to go up?
I think that women always have to deal with that dichotomy between being liked and being credible. And I would tell women that are listening, work at being credible. Because that's the most important thing. Know your information, know your data, do your research before you go into any situation, and be credible. And then also, just from a human perspective, just for women to know that they're enough. That they have the ability within them to do the job, to do well. If they need mentors, reach out. If they need coaching, reach out. We all have needed it, especially when you're coming through in corporate settings and in leadership roles. And don't be afraid to ask for help, but also to be confident in yourself that you're enough and that you're there for a reason.
Yeah, that's good. And so if a woman's in the middle of getting a raise and she's looking for that next position, that next promotion, and she has all the credentials, she knows she's ready, and now she has to have the conversation. What does she say? How does she show up in that room?
Take your value to the table. Don't be afraid to show it. Women have a hard time talking about themselves, talking about what they're good at, talking about what they've done in their past. I know I feel that way a lot of times as well, but they need to show up in confidence, knowing their story, knowing their lived experience, and that there's value in that. And that's what we need at the boardroom tables. That's what we need at the council, in the council room as well, and in our government. We need credible women to show up and to use their voice for others.
Give us the final words. What is the final words that you would give to women today?
The final word that I would give is to follow your glimmers. And it doesn't have to be either or. It can be and. And don't limit yourself in the things that you would like to accomplish.
That's good. Well, you said it best. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. And if people want to get involved, how can we get involved? Because I want to make sure that we have this before we end this broadcast.
Absolutely. We have so many programs going on throughout the Valley. We served almost 400 women right here in Chandler this past year, and we're looking to increase that in the upcoming year. So underemployed, unemployed women, we have services that we can offer. Teens, 16 to 24, even in college. We're working with the high schools as well. We have services for our veterans. We also have services for women who are re-entering from the justice system. And so you can find us at phoenix.dressforsuccess.org, and we will be more than happy to give you more information or have you come to our site, or we might be bringing our mobile units to you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Councilman.
And sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, this month we've been talking to leading women who are leading organizations by faith through not-for-profit work. And we are so glad to celebrate Women History Month. And the conversations that we had was real. They were impactful, and they continue to let us know that women are leading the way triumphantly in this process. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in to this broadcast. Till next time, you've been watching Power Conversations with Councilman Harris.